It's a wonderful Saturday in the city of Lagos. Today, 2nd of November 2024. You're welcome to the program Agreenvolution on Light Radio. The program comes on your airwaves every Saturday on Light Radio between the hour of 4 and 5 p.m. To be a part of the program, do join us on Facebook at Light Radio. You can also subscribe to our page on YouTube at Light Radio. You can also send a mail to the station via official.lightradio@gmail.com. And by virtue of the Radio Garden, you can also link us up. Simply go to the Google Play Store, install the Radio Garden app, and search for Lights Radio. On Agreenvolution today, we shall continue from where we stopped last week. We were discussing surviving strategy in this economy as a Nigerian farmer. However, according to the tale we told last week, we discovered that not only farmers are the beneficiary of this program. This program is highly beneficial to students of agriculture, youths not in agriculture, civil servants, every individuals, irrespective of your status and social stratification. Today, we shall start by looking or expatiating on what we spoke about last week, on how we can survive in this turbulent economy. The economy hiccup currently, despite the fact that everyone knows things are on the high, things are expensive, agricultural produce is not left out. And by virtue of location, prices are not uniform. This program, we know, is not only limited to individuals. Even those in government are listening to the program. And we shall want, as a team, we will want to crave your indulgence to please, to the barest minimum, please pick up one or two with which will be beneficial to us as a whole and a nation at large. While listening to the news this morning, I heard that the TUC is beginning to grumble over the incessant increase in fuel prices. And they are resolving that probably they may want to engage the government on how to increase the new minimum wage again, which was increased less than a quarter ago. I remember in one of my posts on Facebook, I said, cry or protest to increase the minimum wage is not what we need in this country. As long as the government keeps increasing the minimum wage, prices of items will keep raising high. Which is why we always say one thing and we forget that nǹkan tó bá ti wọ́n nílùú yìí kì í wálẹ̀ mọ́. Ǹjẹ́ purchasing power, agbára owó wa, ǹjẹ́ ó ní agbára tó láti máa jẹ́ kí nǹkan máa dùn lọ bá a ṣe fẹ́? Does our naira have the strength to withstand the economic turbulence that we are facing? These are the things that we observed as a team that made us say, okay, let us give people insight on how to survive in these trying times. What we think we need, or what I think we need that will work for us as a nation, is a standard price regulatory agency. It is not just about giving funds to farmers, giving farmers input. There should be a standard price regulatory agency that will mitigate or control those that are ready to procure agricultural products and sell at exorbitant prices. Last week, I remember giving or reeling out an analysis while I was talking about record keeping. I remember talking about the step-by-step and the significance of you writing everything down and then I paint an image of someone that has about 800,000 naira, and how the person can invest in poultry production. Then I made room for 40% profit. That is 40% of cost of production as profit. And I compared the price the birds were at then to the price it was sold last year, despite the fact that price of feed, the most expensive starter feed last year, was something around 14,000 naira, but now it's around 26,000 naira. So in lieu of this, I think we need to take ourselves through this surviving strategy and make us understand its significance and how it will go a long way to help us. Like I said last week, reducing our expenses is one of the most important things that we need to do, even as farmers. How does a farmer need to reduce his expenses? As a farmer, you need to have basic knowledge of virtually every department on your farm. I'm not saying you should lay people off to cut costs, no. But have basic knowledge. For example, you are a backyard farmer and you know next to nothing about carpentry. If you have wire mesh that is probably destroyed by some of your beds, you call a carpenter to come and fix it. If you add that money for renovation, for fixing that net to your cost of production, your beds will be super expensive. So as a farmer, you need to have basic knowledge of carpentry, basic knowledge of petty plumbing. You need to have basic knowledge of petty electrical services, like fixing your bulb yourself. Basic knowledge of fumigation. Fine, you may hire people depending on the capacity of your farm. But however, for someone that has about 50 beds, calling a fumigation company to come and fumigate is unrealistic. So it's better you know how to do it yourself. So even if your farm is as big as, let's say, about 20,000 beds, and you call someone to come and fumigate, if the person is doing the wrong thing, you will easily know. These are ways by which will prevent you from spending multiple times. Now, many of us that were fortunate to be able to listen to the program last week, we spoke about how we can invest as a team of friends. That probably you have about 50,000 naira in your savings, and you have a team of friends going to about 6 or 7, and you have vacant land in your backyard or in your compound that you can plant. You guys can come together, have an agreement on seeds to buy. Then you can now share the seed at random among each other, such that one person will be able to have probably 3 seeds. If each person is buying one pack of seed, and you are now like, okay, let me have, let's say the seed is 50 grams, let me have 10 grams from yours, I give you 10 grams of mine. Then you, like a trade by barter system among the 6 of you, each and every one of you will be able to have a bit of the seed each other have bought. And by that, after planting, you discover that you earn more than you think you can, or individually, if you had invested your 50,000 naira in that vegetable production. More so, I itemized poultry, how you can improve on poultry. So from there, today we shall be looking at details into all this. But before we go into the details, let us talk about the elements of agricultural productivity in a third world country, which these elements are embedded in how we can survive in this turbulent time. Number 1, the key significant thing that we need is soil quality. What is the soil quality in your area? Every area has a predominant soil that is the soil quality are similar to each other depending on the area. That is the soil profile. For example, like I said last week, along the river Niger-Benue Trough, yam perform better than in the southwest. In the hinterland of the north central, maize, guinea corn are known to be of maximum yield. However, in the southwest, we are also blessed. Our land can grow crops like maize, cassava, yam, oil palm, depending on your desire. So, this soil quality has to do with the fertility, the nutrient availability, and the pH level. If you are in an area that you have abundance of clay soil, according to record and research, has nutrients, but majority of the nutrients embedded in clay soil are not readily available for crop production. So, and the rate at which soil capillary is high, and capillary is high in clay soil, such that areas that have clay soil, water tends to rise easily because of the tightfulness of the soil particles. More so, the climate and weather condition, it is on record and it is practical that majority of the food consumed in the southern Nigeria are being cropped or farmed in the north. Yet, we, according to our elementary knowledge, felt majority of crops will not perform there. Or have you ever wondered why majority of these multinational agricultural companies are sited in the north, Kaduna, Jos? Have you ever wondered? That is because they are closer to the raw materials that are needed. I will not mention the name of a company, but this particular company that produces cornflakes and the likes, they have their factory located in the north. So they have to be closer to the raw material they need for their production. More so, access to technology. The availability of modern farming equipment and techniques is very significant and very, very important. One of the reasons why Oyo State is performing better in agriculture compared to Ogun State is because there is availability of tractors and farm implements in virtually all the local governments in Oyo State. If you go to any local government in Oyo, if you are conversant with Oyo, after Fiditi, going towards the new express towards Alayande University of Education, by the left, somewhere around the Lora Junction, you see tractors parked by the roadside. Individuals are even buying tractors and renting it out and leasing it out to farmers. And if you go to the local government, on the old road leading to Ogbomosho, shortly after the School of Survey, to the left, there's, I think, Afijio local government or so. They have tractors parked there that farmers can go there to rent. I've been in Ogun State for over 20 years. I'm yet to see tractor in ABDUL local government. The local government I stay, I'm yet to see farmers either on Saturday morning or Sunday morning coming to the local government to rent tractor. I don't even see tractors there. So these account for one of the problems that we are facing: lack of availability of access to technology that can make farming work and farming tax that can make it easy. After the program, I'll share a video of a particular farm, I think in Texas. Majority of the time, many people are swift to compare Nigeria with other countries, looking at only the human factor. But when you look at the way they manage their animals there, you understand why we are at this state that we are. So access to technology is a very, very significant aspect of us wanting to survive in this trying time. More so, crop variety. I think during this week that ended yesterday, the federal government approved 2 new breeds of beds, and about 14 new strain of crops to be planted. Sometimes last year, I remember posting about the teller maize that was approved by the federal government. According to yesterday's information, I got to discover that one of the African countries is encouraged by Nigeria's teller maize. However, the day I posted the information about teller maize, Some people were full of enthusiasm to know about the maize, while some were like, yeah, it can't fly. I remember one farmer in Ofa sent me a message, and I linked the man up with one of the dealers of this Stella maize. It is important and imperative that as individuals in this country, if we want to survive these turbulent times, we need to keep ourselves abreast of information. The only difference between you and that person you are looking at, that the person is above you, is the access to information. So the information we are giving you is an information that you need to take with utmost seriousness. However, when we look at crop varieties will improve your productivity depending on the variety of crop you plant. There are cassavas that attain maturity in 6 months. And way before now, we have cassava that attain maturity in more than a year. But research has gone depth into this gestation period and looking at factors that can be responsible without these crops losing their disease resistance potential. Because that is one of the most important things, disease resistance. Now, farming practices. This also is one of the problems that we have. If we want to survive in this turbulence time, we need to adopt sustainable and efficient farming practices. An example is crop rotation. At another time, we will discuss crop rotation and intercropping. However, if you are the type of farmer that you are a commercial farmer, you may not be able to practice intercropping because, let's say for example, the way our grandpa used to do it in those days, on a plot of land, they plant cassava, they plant maize, they plant vegetable. Vegetable gets to maturity faster than maize. Then maize also attains maturity faster than cassava. By the time they are harvesting vegetable for sale, the maize will almost have commenced tasseling, flowering. Then, let's say about 45 days or about 60 days, when the maize is harvested, the cassava will start production. During the time that these three crops are on the same ridge, because however, they plant all these vegetable in the furrow, then the maize and the cassava are on the ridge. When one is by the side of the ridge, there will be competition for nutrients, which will end up making one crop to be on the pause when it comes to growth consideration. So, going by this, crop rotation is a very significant factor that can be employed if we want to survive in this economy. Because number one, in animal science, we are made to understand that, and is a known fact and proven, that over 70% of your cost of production goes into feeding. Also, in human being, as far as our existence is concerned, majority of us have eaten this morning. If you evaluate what you've consumed this morning, even in the confine of your home, you will have exhausted over 6,000 naira, and you are yet to spend 6,000 naira on transportation. A family of 4 will hardly manage 10,000 naira on a meal if they want to eat to their satisfaction. So, it's important, just like the Yoruba always say, tó ń jẹ bá ti kúrò nínú ìṣẹ́ bùṣe. Àmọ́ síbẹ̀síbẹ̀ náà, ó yẹ ká wá mọ̀ pé kì í ṣe ká jẹun nìkan. Surviving is very, very important, because ẹni tó wà ní ayé òun ló máa ń ní plan. Now, apart from this crop rotation, one other thing that we need to survive is abolishment of seasonal farming. I say seasonal farming because majority of us in Nigeria are used to farming seasonality. It is only during rainy season that people go to the farm. Only during rainy season. So during dry season, when they must have exhausted what they had in storage, there will be scarcity, there will be food sakpa virtually in everywhere. Prices of food commodities begin to rise until the next harvest period. So we need to abolish farming seasonality and embrace irrigation. Irrigation is virtually one of the cheapest structure you can ever install on a farm. It's virtually one of the cheapest. You can buy a GP tank or any rubber tank of about, let's say, about 100,000 naira. You can buy pipe, irrigator, spring, anything. You can just buy them and call a plumber to install. You have total control over water availability to your crops. You will not be totally dependent on the weather and be praying for it to rain. Okay, let me start an example of what happened to me this year. This year, I was opportune to get about 3 plots of land somewhere very close to my area that I planted maize and I planted cassava. As at the time I planted, suddenly the rain stopped. Majority of the maize got burnt and stifled because of lack of water. If there was an irrigation structure in place, that would not have happened. Now, why was I not able to bring an irrigation structure, a standard irrigation structure to that place? Was because the land was not mine. This will push us into something we call land tenure system. Assuming the land was mine, I have total control over the land. I can erect any irrigation structure I so deem fit on that land. But a land that was rented to me for a few months, me using my money to install irrigation structure on that land, after production, what do I do with the structure? Do I dismantle it or do I leave it there? So these are one of the things that we need to look at as individuals. And also, the policymakers should also see to this, because the land tenure problem that we have in this country is one of the greater bedeviling this industry, such that majority of the land that are supposed to be for agriculture have been used for residential construction. Some lands are not even farmable because of what the land has been put to. However, we need to also know that the availability and the efficiency of irrigation systems will encourage us and make us to be able to stand afloat in this turbulence economy. Because it is absurd if Nigeria is one of the leading producer of cassava and export of cassava, yet a paint rubber of garri is sold for between 2,700 to 3,500 depending on your location. However, it could be sold cheaper than that depending on where you are. More so, pest and disease management is also important, because as individuals, when you have little resources, what you need to understand is how to manage that resources. Pest and disease infestation could be a hole through which your investment could be drained. Let's say, for example, you are able to plant 3 acres of maize and you are not able to control pest and disease. And let's say grasshopper came knocking and they lacerated virtually, let's say 50% of the maize leaves. Their action on these maize leaves will reduce the productivity of the maize, hereby affecting your expected output. Now, talking about disease also, if it's cassava mosaic virus that has infested your farm or infected your farm, it will also reduce the growth rate. In turn, the crop will be stunted, will have stunted growth, the output will be reduced, thereby affecting your expected revenue. So all these are part of the things we need to see to as individuals and even as a nation. It is not until we expect that there is a policy will be formulated for us to put all this into place. Local government chairmen can do all these small things as part of their project to help farmers. It is not that you call farmers, no. You can go to existing farm settlements, sink borehole for them, establish an office there. The ADP office in the local government can have their headquarters in the local government and their sub offices in the farm settlement, closer to where the farmers are. Extension agents are needed in large quantity. When I say quantity, I'm not talking about large numbers, I mean quantity. If only you have the knowledge of number of extension agents, extension workers, extension graduates that are turned out yearly, a majority of them end up selling weave-on and wigs online. Majority of them end up doing POS business. It is very easy to do all these things because as a nation we are blessed. We have vast arable land that if all the Nigerian universities are standing up on their toes to go into agricultural production, Nigeria should not lack. At least, let's say universities in the southwest are trying to help us to survive in this turbulent time. University of Ilorin should cater for those in Ilorin. Landmark should cater for those in Omuaran. LASU should cater for those in Yanoba down to Badagry. Lagos University of Technology in Ikorodu should cater for those around Ikorodu down to K2 My 12. Every university should cater for those in its location. These universities, if government want to acquire land for construction, they know how easy to do it. And at the same time, they should also know how easy to acquire land for agricultural productivity. And if you want to acquire land for agricultural productivity, there is a gimmick that can be played around this, that the people in the area will not complain. Number one is the same game you play when government is bringing an investment into a location. The first point of contact are the people in that area. If they say, okay, let's say for example, the government wants to site fish farm, let's say in a water area, let's say somewhere around Yanoworo down to Ikorodu along the creeks. Locals in those areas should be empowered to be the first beneficiary of those projects. When we say locals, I mean willing locals, those that have passion for it, not just people that will be coming to become Awano Wambe, Kawano Jembe. No. Those that have passion for it should be the first set of people that will be considered. If the village head of a particular area where the government is acquiring land understands that majority of the youths in those areas will be empowered to go into food production, will the village head kick against it? The probability that will kick against it is about 10%. That is if it's selfish. Otherwise, he will be looking for ways by which to engage the youth in his area. Because if youths are not engaged, social vices could be on the rise. Then, by virtue of talking about that, I think every university in Nigeria today, most especially in the southwest, should be saddled with the responsibility of providing at least one food crop when it comes to production to be able to satisfy the need in the location where they are. I remember when I was in the University of Ibadan, we have a community market somewhere around Abadina that was run by the University of Ibadan Teaching and Research Farm. Weekly, they sell plantain, palm oil, beans, chicken, fish there. An improvement could be done on that. And also, I remember during my time while I was in LATEEF, I remember during our 400 level internship, we produced vegetables, we roasted gari, and we sold. The quantity that was produced then is not even enough to feed the students within the school. Now imagine if the university is empowered and given a mandate that its CSR to the host community is food production. The Faculty of Agricultural Sciences there will perform better because they have more hands. Now, when I said that, I remember someone was like, who will oversee it? I said, it is very, very simple. The way they will oversee it is that there is a course in virtually every University of Agriculture. It depends on where, the course code of different schools. Some call it FTP. Some call it FPT. That is Farm Training Practical or Farm Practical Training. When I was in school, it was a 0-unit course. That course, we'll go to the farm. If it's vegetable we are planting, or cassava, or anything, we plant, we monitor. Sometimes we harvest, depending on the maturity of what we have planted. But it was not commercialized. Now, how do we commercialize it? An average Nigerian University of Agriculture has over 4,000 students in its Faculty of Agriculture. And majority of them write the same course from 100 level to 400 level. It is in 500 level that they now separate and go to their different departments. And they start this FPT as early as 200 level. If from 200 level, every student is given at least, let's say, 2 plots of land, or let's say 3 plots of land, 2 people to 1 acre of land. And the university has invested, or the government have given each university, let's say about 5 tractors. The tractor will plow, harrow, and ridge all the land before it is being mapped out to the students. Then the students have the responsibility of monitoring the crops that are planted on their portion. It is not the portion that we have then, a portion that is less than 6 feet. If each student is given 3 plots of land, and you have about 3,000 students, at the end of the day, the produce that will be churned out by the students in 200 level alone will be enough for the student populace, if the student populace is over 2,000, which is what majority of the schools have. Let's say, for example, that I know in LATEEF. If they can churn out that quantity, that 3 plots per student times 2,000, that is 2 times, that is 6,000 plots. At the end of the day, 100 plots make 1 hectare. That is more than enough for them to have managed. And at the end of the day, the school will have 200 level, 300 level, 400 and 500 level. 500 level may be exempted because of their research work. But 2, 3, 4 could be actively involved. I know you may think it's slavery. No, it's not slavery. Because how do we now encourage the students to want to do more? It is when they harvest. After harvesting, you may decide, okay, as a student that you have monitored and you have produced, what is the optimum expected weight of output that is expected per plot? If a student meets that expected output, or is within the range, the student can be graded just like we were being graded for a 0-unit course. And now, to further encourage the students, apart from on grades, when these items are weighed, they are sold. The university sells them, and the students are given about 20 to 30% of what is left of the profit after cost of management of tractors and plow and everything have been deducted. Let's now imagine that from an acre, a student worked on a plot for about 3 months and he produces maize. And the gain after deduction from everything, the gain is going to about, let's say, about 150,000 or 200,000 naira. And the student is given 30% of it, that is about 60,000 naira. Will the student not be encouraged to do more the next semester? After graduation, will the student not be encouraged to go deep into agriculture when he or she knows what he or she has gained in 3 months? It will be easy for the student to even forecast that, okay, back when I was in 200 level, I took 3 plots. This is what I gained. Okay, in 3 months, in 300 level, let me apply if it can be increased. After graduation, let me go into this. So these are ways by which we can survive in this economy. It is not just as individuals we should be striving. Even the agencies of the government should be thinking outside the box. We shouldn't be dogmatic about what we are doing. Kì í ṣe pé ká máa ṣe nǹkan kan náà in the same way tá a ti ń ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀. A ní láti wà creative. A ní láti máa wòye pé ọ̀nà wo la fi fẹ́ jẹ́ kí nǹkan àgbẹ̀, nǹkan ọ̀gbìn, ẹranko sísìn, ọ̀nà wo la fẹ́ fi fa àwọn youth mọ́ra. Ọ̀nà wo la fẹ́ jẹ́ kó jẹ́ pé kó máa wú àwọn èèyàn lórí láti ṣe. Kì í ṣe wípé ká máa fẹnu sọ nìkan wípé a ti approve breed báyìí, a ti approve nǹkan báyìí, iye báyìí láti ná. No! Enough of the talking. Let us walk the talk. By virtue of, conclusively, I would also like to talk about the access to markets, because if we do all the above and there is no market, it's a wasted effort. And Nigeria have the population. We have the population at our disposal of over 250 million people. Because as at the last population census in 2006 or thereabout, we were close to 200 million. Now imagine the rate at which we were proliferating and expanding till today. More so, financial resources, subsidies, credit facilities, and financial advisory services to be rendered to farmers. It is only in Nigeria that majority of our commercial banks borrow you money and not praying for you to be able to return the money. It is supposed to be a win-win situation. If as a farmer, you approach, let's say, Bank of Agriculture or Bank of Industry, that they should borrow you 10 million naira this year. Under normal circumstance, if you are going back next year, you should be borrowing like double of what you borrowed this year. Even if you don't want to, they themselves should be a stakeholder in your farm. That is one of the ways by which we can institutionalize majority of our farms. It is only, okay, let's look at, if you do a census in Nigeria, how many farms has outlived the owner? But in the US, there are farms that are over 100 years. The owners have gone, they pass it to their children, the children have gone, their great-grandchildren are the one managing the farm till today. That is the concept of generational farming. But currently, the moment the owner of the farm dies, the children sells the land. They turn it into an estate. And they begin to buy from the market. And they've forgotten that what trained them to become who they are is from that land that they are selling. Also, labor availability. We also have that. We have access to skilled and unskilled labor, but we are not making use of any of them. Land security is most important. And all these things that we've discussed, that we've spoke about, are integral factors that are required to be set for us to be able to survive in this economy. Conclusively, the beginning of the topic last week, we spoke directly to individuals on how we can make difference on our own and reduce our over-dependence on other people with respect to what we eat. Summarily today, we channeled our speech and everything to those in government, the agencies, the policymakers, and even certain multinationals. And the parting shot for today is, I think that all these multinational companies should be made to observe their CSR beyond just giving petty bags to people in their locality. Encourage people in your locality to go into farming and buy back the product from them. This is Agreenvolution. I am AIYEDUN LATEEF. Special thanks to the management of Light Radio for giving us time to enlighten you on how we can survive this turbulent time. Special appreciation to the studio engineer and the program producer. Surely, we'll be back next week for another episode of Agreenvolution. Do stay tuned and bye for now.
It's green, it's green.